you put the money last. It's got to be there. Like, you got to think about the money so you don't like make a bunch of decisions. There's no greater power than moms talking to moms.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to home remodels.
Yeah. I'll put it on his tab, and he was like, I'm paying for all this. And I'm like, oh, take care of yourself. Go to the gym. Make it non-negotiable. And jiu-jitsu is where I think everybody should do it. It would save the world, man. Everyone should do it.
I am joined today by Shannon Higginson. Shannon is a serial entrepreneur and the owner of Gracie Barra, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu training facility in Renton, Washington. He also owns a number of other businesses, including Higgason Homes, which is a general contractor, doing renovations all over the Seattle metro area, Sammamish, Renton, Mercer Island, et cetera, Issaquah. We were connected by a former guest on the show, Dex Montenegro, who is also in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community here in the Seattle area. In addition to all of that, Shannon, you also host a podcast. And I believe it's called Who You Know with Shannon Higginson. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. It's I have a few episodes up at the moment, but I'm revamping it. I knew a camera guy who's going to be helping me bolster all of this. I have a podcast. Awesome. I will be utilizing it here very soon.
And I assume that's listed on all of the usual platforms, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, etc.
On YouTube for sure.
On YouTube too. Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So we will definitely link to that in the description so that people can check out your channel on YouTube. So Shannon, thank you so much for taking time to join the Eden Group podcast. The purpose of the Eden Group podcast is to explore the business models that deliver health and wellness to society. Business models. There are a lot of podcasts out there that talk about fitness. That's not what this is about. This isn't about your periodization. This isn't about your protein, your macros. There's plenty of podcasts that do that. What I'm interested in is the business models that are succeeding to deliver the services that people consume. Because at the end of the day, if you have a mission that you want to spread to the world, it's not going to grow unless it generates a return, right? I would love to start at the beginning of your journey to understand how you came into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a business owner. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Virginia Beach. I dropped out of high school. I just wanted to put tools on and go to work. Started framing homes when I was 17 years old. It's 26 years now. Worked for a remodeling company there. I'll never forget Raymond Key, my first boss for Woodmasters was the name of his business. He was a tough guy. Never forget that. So
what was tough about him?
Just how stern and business he was. And he was just physically tough too, old school carpenter. He's about 5'6" tall, 250 pounds, built like a boulder. One of those guys.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. He said to me once, my hands, I have big
fighter hands.
Yeah. He said, let me see your hands. And he looked at my hands. He said, you got good hands. And he looked over his wife. His wife's name is Janice. Janice, she's got good hands.
And this was 17. Like, this was right out of high school.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school. I didn't even finish the 11th grade. School wasn't for me.
What was it about working with your hands that appealed to you so much? Did you see it modeled in your life?
Instinct. I just, look at, like, this was before computers. This was before, social media, cell phones, all that stuff, just driving around a city that was full of construction, homes being built. These guys up there constructing a home. I was like, oh, that's real man shit. I should be doing that. My uncle did it. My father was an electrician, my biological father. I want to build stuff. It looked like fun. And it felt like I was validating myself as a man. So I did that. I just got started.
How long did you do that? And when did you end up moving out west? And if there were any stops along the way, I'd love to hear about those as well.
Philadelphia. I lived there for a year working for a lighting and sound production company, and then also doing interior trim construction. We would drive to New Jersey, the Jersey Shore, and about an hour drive from Philly, and do construction. Florida. I lived in Melbourne, Palm Bay.
Okay.
And I would drive an hour to Orlando to work construction. I worked for a commercial insulation company and doing insulation on, pipes and ducts and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Lived in North Carolina for a few months. I hated it there. The part I was in, it was terrible. Wow, what a terrible place that I lived in.
Well, what did you hate about North Carolina?
Okay, so where I lived was called Swansboro.
Okay.
And the nearest town was called Jacksonville, North Carolina. Right. And it's one big Marine military base. There's 30,000 Marines, all guys. So imagine one big city full of a bunch of Marines. Yeah. Not against them.
Right, of course.
Much to do. There was bars and pool halls, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So, and of course I was single then, and how old was I then? 19 years
Oh
old.
man. You're
Yeah.
like, these are the wrong numbers. These are the wrong odds.
Yeah, very much so. It was slim pickings. And I was like, man, I'm getting out of here. Moved back to Philly. I moved to Washington State probably 22, 23 years ago. The first time I moved here, I was 20,
All right.
23 years ago, because my stepdad who raised me, he got stationed out here years after I had moved out. I moved out at 17. So he got stationed out in Bremerton. So I was like, I'll go check it out.
Was he in the Navy?
Young. Huh?
Was he Navy?
Navy, yeah.
Navy.
My stepdad was Navy, yeah.
Yep.
So I was like, I'll go check it out. And then I had some cousins and some family out here, and it was just super different. I was like, why not? And then I stuck around, met some friends through my cousins, and ended up, hanging out with these guys for years and years and years. I won't say stuck. I ended up getting probably 2 years into being here in Washington. I'm meeting my girlfriend, who now is my wife. Now, it was 21 years ago. We've been together 21 years. So when I met her, then I was stuck. I was like, oh, well, I'm here. Yeah. So,
but you built a life here now.
Oh yeah. Hands down. Yeah,
that's crazy. Down. That's crazy. Did you meet any mentors when you landed out here? And when did you first own your own business, either in the health and wellness space or in the construction space?
So the construction company I started with right after the 2008, 2009 market crash.
Okay. Yep.
Right around the time when Barack Obama got into office and everything. Right. Just tanked. Yep, so I lost my job. I was working for a residential remodeling company out here in Washington. I worked with them for years. And the owner of that business at one point had 15 employees. And then overnight, he laid everybody off but himself, of course, and his nephew or cousin. And so they put bags on and they scraped by. He lost, I don't know, $100,000 worth of business that he did, where the contractors didn't pay him. They just disappeared. It was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad.
They didn't have money either, because they would get progress payments for jobs. The contractors say, all right, I'm going to build this I'm going to build all these houses. Aaron was doing trim and he had crews. We do all these jobs, and then everything just went bad. Yeah. And he lost about $100,000 of money that he was owed from contractors that basically they disappeared.
Just never got it.
Huh?
He just never got it.
Just never got it.
Yeah.
Never got it. And the contractors that owed him money also never got it. Like everything just kind of everything just fell apart. The money stopped.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah. The flow.
It was terrifying. It literally happened overnight. It was a pretty bad deal. So I started my own business.
How old were you at that time?
I was late 20s, 26, 27, maybe.
Yeah.
15 years ago. How old am I? Yeah. 27, 28 years old.
Any kids at the time?
No.
Kids. Okay.
No. Just a wife.
Wife. Yeah. Was your wife working?
Oh yeah. She worked at a gas station.
Yeah.
She was a bookkeeper for a gas station, a couple of them. So she did the books. At the time, she wasn't. She was just a cashier, but she eventually became a bookkeeper for them.
2008, everything crashes. The entire housing market just completely falls apart. You're laid off. Where do you get the capital to start your own thing?
What capital?
Yeah. Well, so like, what does it take to start a general contractor? I don't even know.
Discipline. Integrity, a truck and some tools, have a skill, and then you got to have some balls.
Do you have any asset? Do you have do you have a garage? You have tool? Like what do you have
at the time? Do I have any assets at the time?
Yeah. At the time when you started, yeah.
No, I had a truck, Ford Ranger. Okay. I was making payments on it. I had a truck, had some hand tools, and I was taking whatever jobs I could get. So my foreman, call it my boss at the time, that didn't own the company. He was just my boss, Glenn Bellamy. He was retiring anyways. He was an older gentleman. And I remember him saying, well, you should go on your own. I'll give you some of my clients, because he had connections and stuff. Yep. But, it was a lot of me calling people, friends, everybody calling, hey, I need work, put the word out. For years, I scraped by, dude. My first year in business, I only made like $7,500. Luckily, my wife had a job making like $20 an hour. So about $40K a year, roughly. So we lived off of basically less than $50K the first year. And that was my first year in business. The year prior, before I got laid off, I was making like $30 an hour.
Yeah.
20 or 15 years ago. So that was about $60K a year, which was pretty decent for that time. And then that just went away.
What was your monthly burn like in terms of fixed costs? I mean, were you able to like tighten your belts a bit, or did you have like certain costs you're just like, oh, like.
So let me say this.
Yeah.
One of the most detrimental things that can happen to someone who starts a business is they don't understand expenses, write-offs, margins. And that's one of the things I do is I coach people in the construction business industry. I start with the sales, hey, let me show you the sales process. It's not just selling cars or solar. You know, it's the long sale, the art of the long sale. Anyways, back to what I was saying is when I first started my business, my truck, the gas, those were my main expenses outside of, hey, Shannon, can you build this deck? Yeah, no problem. I got you. All right, give me an estimate. Okay. And I'm like, how the am I going to estimate this, you know?
And make a profit, right? You're not just going to do it at cost.
Yeah. So if you don't understand how to price a thing, you can go upside down real fast and you're committed once you sign that dotted line.
Yep.
You say, oh, I'll do it for $4,000. And then you go get all the materials, and the materials alone were $2,500.
Yep.
And you got $1,500 that you get. And by the way, you got gas, truck payment, and other stuff coming out of that. And it takes you a week. You're hurting.
You're working for nothing.
You're learning lessons.
Yep.
You're learning a lot of painful lessons that can be avoided if you just listen to somebody who knows what they're doing. We'll get back to that. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. But now my business is $3.5 million a year gross. That I manage, my wife. I have about 7 or 8 employees and lots of subcontractors. I have a virtual assistant. I built, scaled, automated things, systematically, and I basically just oversee everything.
And this is just Higgason Homes. You're not including Gracie in this at all.
No, Gracie Barra is easy. That's like I teach class, built the culture. I've got coaches. Dex is one of the coaches, Muay Thai striker coach, and he's from the Dwayne Bang Ludwig lineage, the Colorado, Denver. Dwayne, good dude. And I have coaches. I got a program director, TJ, who runs the desk and signs people up, and manages the gis and all that stuff. And then I have a virtual assistant, CRM. They get people in the door. I've got a marketing director for all that, 2 of them. One for social media, one for Google and the website. A lot of moving parts.
And there are a lot of people out there, and I'm sure you've met them, especially in the health and wellness space, who are very passionate about their craft, right? Whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, CrossFit, yoga, Pilates, fill in the blank. They love coaching, but sometimes they don't have a business mindset, a profit mindset. So I like talking to people who have models that seem to be working so we can hear what's working, what isn't working, so that people can listen and learn.
I love it. So ask me any question about whatever business model. Let's talk about the Jiu-Jitsu School, if you'd like. Okay. First of all, if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, Shannon, how do I build a business? How? First thing I would say, it's not how, it's who. Who do you have to be? Who do you have to become? How do you inspire people? How do you interest people? Okay. You have to be somebody that's capable of doing so. And that is the most important thing that people forget, or they never even get introduced to that, is the who. You want to be a championship basketball player, football player, or boxer, you got to do the work. You got to build you to be able to do so, to be able to not just execute, but to even compete. You got to start there. So if you're going to be in the fitness business, period, whether you're a personal instructor or you own a big box gym or you own a boxing or a jiu-jitsu school, MMA, whatever, you are the person, and the people that you implement, they are the who that people are attracted to. And they go, oh, this person can solve my problem. Someone walks into the school, the jiu-jitsu school, right? They walk in and they're walking down that aisle towards the desk. You don't know what's going through their mind. I can take a guess. I'm terrified. I really want to do this thing. It looks fun. I've heard about it, but I'm really scared. The first person they talk to when they get to the end of that aisle, whether it's me that's there or through TJ or Jessica, my program directors, they introduce themselves. They call the person, hey, you must be so-and-so. Yes, you're here for the free trial class. Yes, okay, go ahead and sign this paper. We'll get you a gi, right? So now that person feels like, oh, okay. Whew. All right. Now, why do they get that sigh of relief? Because you take the fear away. How do you take the fear away? You show them that you're the who, that you're the person that they should not fear. And now they're ready for instruction. So let's go back to starting a business. You want to teach people fitness or whatever. You got to have a space that's clean and invigorating. It's comfortable for people, especially if you're instructing children, kids jiu-jitsu program. The parents are going to come in. They're going to look around. They're going to judge the shit out of you.
Absolutely.
They should. Okay. Now, if you're somebody who inspires them and they're interested, they're more likely to purchase your services. You take the fear away, then they trust you. And when they trust you, then they can connect. When they can connect, they can learn, right? When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So let's go back to like the business model. We're here to help you solve your problems. We're here to add value to you. We're here to help make you your best self. We want to make you the who. So if I can show you what I've done and how I did it and that I'm capable of it, I'm sure you could do the same. And if anybody ever has doubts and insecurities about starting a business, building a business, that is a good feeling. It may not feel comfortable, but it's good. Oh, I have doubts, I have insecurities. Why? Because I care. Okay. But to become the who, You have to move past those doubts and insecurities. And you have to have not necessarily confidence, right? But trust in yourself. I'm not yet confident because I'm not competent. I'm not competent because I haven't done it yet, but I know I can. I've come this far. My conscience is telling me, hey, do this, but also be wary of this. That's just your brain trying to play tricks on you. Once you can basically own your conscious, your brain, your nervous system, and you act and you get started and you just refuse to give up, the failure is going to come. They're lessons, especially if you utilize them, evaluate the experience, make the adjustments, and keep fucking walking. One day you'll wake up and you have multi-million-dollar businesses. And a lot of people love you because why? Because you loved yourself. You believed in yourself. And then eventually you became competent. And then people see that. Actions speak louder than words. Become the who. Car salesmen, some of them are great people. I know a lot of good car salesmen, but their job is to get you in a vehicle. I know people who show you, hey, I'm not here to tell you how to buy, what to buy. I'm here to show you how I can help you. And then they buy. Dude, you put the money last. It's got to be there. Like, you got to think about the money so you don't like make a bunch of decisions. Like, if I would have charged less for my students, I would have gotten to 350 students and been stuck at a margin that's zero.
Right. It's counterintuitive, right? So undercharging, it creates a negative virtuous cycle, like a negative cycle where you can't retain the best coaches. You have turnover, which means your product suffers, which means you get fewer customers and it just goes downward. But on the flip side, you charge a higher amount. You have more buy-in from your customers. You have a higher margin. You can pay your coaches more. You have lower turnover, and it's a positive virtuous cycle.
Correct. And the biggest thing too is like you got competitors, right? You got other schools. And when it comes to like jiu-jitsu, you have other schools, they all have this rate that they charge. It's right around here. Okay. If you try to be much cheaper, maybe 10, 20% cheaper, well, there's all your margins right there. Right. And if their expenses, your expenses probably supersede theirs. So you don't even know, like, okay, they have 150 students. They're able to operate at that because their expenses are a fraction of what yours are. Well, you have to make sure you maximize your expenses. I have a big mat space. I got a pretty big mat, and call it luck, but also call it skill. When my partner, Greg, my business partner, Greg said, hey man, I got this space, blah, 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 here it is. The rent's a little high, but the mat space is big. I said, okay, we just got to fill the mat.
Yeah.
Got to fill the mat.
That's sales. That's sales and marketing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And man, you know what? When it comes to sales, like I sell $1 million remodels. No one's just going to hand over $1 million check to somebody. They don't trust them. They don't have some reputable portfolio. Yep. When it comes to sales is simple. Sales is relationships. It's connecting. It's being authentic. Like when I have a conversation with a client, I could do it in such a way where I don't have to try to tell them what they want to hear. No. I tell them what they need to hear. And that is actually more valuable than telling them what they want to hear. A lot of companies in the construction industry will tell people what they want to hear because they're desperate to get that job, right? Well, you're setting yourself up for a possible bad review. So tell people what they need to hear, but also be somebody who can answer the question that's required, right? And when I have a potential construction client that wants to do business with me, they get on a phone call with me first. I don't even go knock on the door until we have a 2 to 3 minute conversation on the phone. Then I can tell right then and there, based on experience and a couple of other things, if they're going to be my client or not. There's a better chance of me landing a job if I vet the person on the phone. And it's not like, hey, what's this, what's that, what's the other. It's like, hey, I'm Shannon with Higgason Homes. How you doing? Yeah, I heard you got a bathroom remodel. Okay, you want a full bathroom remodel? Okay, cool. Yeah. Have you seen anything on the website that may have attracted your attention? Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. We do a lot of those, right? And then they ask the questions like, hey, about what do these cost? And I say, oh, they range somewhere between here and here. Where and there are you looking to spend? What part of that number do you want to have a conversation around? And I get the flinch factor. If they go, oh, no, we expect to spend about half that. I say, hey, you know what? I completely understand. Seems kind of crazy that, things cost more than you want to spend. But, I've never done a bathroom where a client said, oh, it was cheaper than I expected.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your story climbing from 70 something hundred a year to, you said 3 million. Now is that 3 million?
3.5 million gross. That's about the numbers we do for the construction company. Okay. And then I get to keep a percentage of that margin. Right. Lots of expenses, lots of write-offs, as it should be, because no business, like you see that computer back there behind me, that's a write-off. It's a write-off.
Business computer.
Yep. Yep. The one I'm sitting on right now is also a write-off.
Yep.
So, you know, this phone, it's a write-off because if you looked at this phone and you said, hey, how many hours you spend on that phone doing business versus personal? You only need to do 55% business versus 45% personal to validate as a write-off. Well, I actually do about 95% business, 5% personal.
Of course.
So I keep a margin. You know, I'm not really somebody to hide. I do really good. My margin's definitely north of 15 to 20%.
Okay.
And as it should be, you know. I take a lot of risk. There's a lot of moving parts. If I try to be so tight with my estimation process, well, then I don't get paid at all. But yet I've committed to a year's worth of work. I'm robbing my family. I'm not trying to rob anybody. I'm not trying to rip anybody off. I just know what I've been through and where I want to go. Those are two totally different things.
So how I got to hear about this, Shannon, though. Like, so you started with a seed of a couple clients handed to you by your former foreman, right? And how did you compound that? What did you do?
I took pictures, built the portfolio, and then the clients that were people that I knew introduced me to other people that I didn't know, but they knew, right? So if you know one person, you know 10 through that person, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All you got to do is like talk to that one person enough to remind them, to remind their friends. Oh, by the way, this guy Shannon, I went on vacation and I came back and him and my husband were planning this window I wanted next to my bed for so long. I came back, I walked in my room and there was a window. And Shannon knocked it out over the weekend, something like that. And then that turns into moms talking to other moms at the elementary school line.
Yeah.
There's no greater power than moms talking to moms.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to home remodels.
Yeah,
let's be very clear here. Anything that happens in the home, it's because the mom wanted it that way.
It's generally the case.
Yeah.
It's generally the case. I'll just come out and say that 90% of my clients, I deal with the wife.
Of course. Yeah, that does not surprise me at all.
Yep. And the husband understands. They write the
checks.
The
husband's like, sure, whatever you want, babe. Yep, we'll do it.
Even they say, oh, we write the checks. She's the boss. I go, yeah,
she's the boss.
You're not alone. That's good for you guys.
That's good.
Although I did have a client who's actually pretty famous on Instagram. I won't drop her name, but she has millions of followers on Instagram. And I did
She doesn't have a show on Netflix, does she?
No.
Okay, not that one. Okay.
No, but I did a big remodel for her, and I made a joke because her husband was an airline pilot and then he was an instructor. I made a joke because she wanted to add some stuff. I was like, oh, just tell Chuck I'll put it on his tab. And he was like, I'm paying for all this. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And we're friends. We connected, you know, but it was funny. She was like, I'm paying for all this.
There you go.
Oh, shit. Chuck's a lucky dude.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were taking these pictures back in the day, I mean, did you already have your own website? Were you posting on Instagram? How'd you get the word out?
Dude, listen, this is crazy. I would just have the pictures on my phone. And so when I would go to meet a client, right? I had an iPhone at that time. It was a piece of crap. But when I'd go to meet the client, then I'd get to show them my portfolio. I'd say, hey, look, I did this, you know. I didn't have a website at the start.
It was just one-on-one. You didn't have, so this wasn't just like a portfolio up for anybody to see.
This is why it's very important that if you want to open a business, period, hire a coach who's done what you want to do at a large scale so that you do not spend years wasting. Like, I wish I had known about the website sooner. I wish I had known about leadership education. I wish I'd have known about profit margins. And it's hard. I have subcontractors that do work for my company and they suffer, man. They're like not making any money. And I'm like, guys, where's your website? Like, oh, I haven't done it yet. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm like,
they're going to find you. No one can find you. You do not exist.
Here you go. Like, how did you find me? They're like, oh, we found your website and called you. It's like, duh. Oh, I can't afford the website. I'm like, you can't
afford not to have it.
Oh, man. Yeah. So I would have pictures on my phones. I'd meet people and then I'd do the job, take pictures, and I'd say, hey, just tell all your friends. And then one day, a friend of mine that I did work for in his house, he said, hey, bro, my brother started his business marketing and advertising and building websites. He was like, you should get a website. And I was like, okay, cool. Give me his number. He's like, well, you already know my brother, John. His name is John, the guy that does my website. And that was, I don't know how many years ago, 8 years ago, we started that. And I had a crappy, like half-assed website that some guy made for me that, you know, I didn't know better. He was, you know, pretty decent at making websites. He just, all the other stuff, you know, didn't work out. And I sent it over to John and John said, hey man, do you want to talk about this for a little bit? But yeah. And he's a nice guy. He's trying to, you know, not just be a complete hit me over the head with all the truth. He says, this website's not doing very good. I was like, really? I was like, yeah, I don't get any calls from it. And he's like, I'll tell you what, let's do this, 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 and this. I'll take this website, I'll scrap it. I'll build you a new one from scratch. This is about what it would look like. It'll cost this much, but we could break it up in payments. It was $3,500. And I was like, oh God, that's a lot of money for me at the time. He was like, yeah, I know, I get it, man, but we'll break it up in payments for you. And I was like, cool, that sounds good. And we did. And then he was like, okay, for search engine optimization with SEO, right? It's some tricky stuff. It'll cost this much a month to manage. And then ads, blah, 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 blah. Dude, he built my website for me. And then I remember getting my first call from it. Like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, dude, John, how do we do more? How do we do more? Here's more money. Yeah. So, but now we have this, we regulate it. You know, I average about 6 to 8K a month in ads for the construction company.
That's your spend. That's your spend.
Yeah, just on $6,000 to $8,000 a month for the construction company. But you know, okay, let's $72,000 to $90,000 a year for advertising, so that I can get $3.5 million in business. I think it's a pretty fair trade. Absolutely. You know, especially when I keep a decent margin. So if you're spending 20% to 30% of your net profit on ads, then you're doing good.
That's pretty standard for CPG.
You're gonna make more. You're going to like spend more, make more kind of thing. If you're spending over half of your net profit on ads, Nick, something's going on. Something's going on. Your close rate's not good. You're getting in front of the wrong people. Basically, you're taking money and handing it to somebody to show it to somebody who is not your client. So there's a lot of minutia, you know, that my guy John is killer, man. He's great. Like I send him so much business. I love it when people ask me, like, hey, Shannon, who's your guy? I'm like, this is him. Congratulations.
Well, let's link to him, man. You have a beautiful website. I checked it out right before this. I just Googled you. I don't even remember what the URL is. Let's see.
You Googled me?
I did. Here it is. Higgason Homes. HiggasonHomes.com. Yeah, beautiful website. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it runs well. It's got the book appointment button. It's pretty set up.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So lesson number 1, make sure people can find you.
Yes. Be the who and then get in front of people. It's just that simple. Relationships. I go to a lot of nice restaurants. I love nice restaurants, and I talk to the wait staff and I treat them like they're my friends and my family, man. It's huge when I get a call from someone that says, hey, so-and-so said that you own a construction company. And I was like, oh yeah, it's a good feeling. So your website is your virtual handshake. First place people see you. Even if they hear about you from a friend, they still go to the website, and that's how they see your face. They hear your voice, watch videos, first impression. Then that phone call is basically them saying, I want you to solve my problem. Question is, I need a little more proof that you're the one, right? And then I meet them in person, and then I basically listen to them. And then before you know it, I'm selling them a design proposal. Hey, you want this kitchen remodel? The estimated cost for this kitchen is about $100,000 to $150,000, depending on how crazy you'd go with the finishes. All right, it's up to you. Now, if you're interested in spending that, I recommend getting the design so that you can see the absolute finished details rendered of your kitchen, so that you can have a reflection of that on the estimate. The estimate is line item, demo to putting the paint on the wall and everything in between. In that kitchen that you see on the rendering, this is the price. This is what you get.
The destination.
Let me know when you're ready to get started, right? So we start with the design process. They pay me. I'm a design to build firm, and I have an architect and a designer that I work hand in hand with. She is her own company, her own entity, but we do a lot of business together. Going on 2 years now. We get them the design, and then we do a review, basically finalize the design, then we get the estimate. Now they have all the paper, offers, everything on paper. And the conversations in between are nothing more than checking in, answering their questions, letting them know we're there to help if they need it. We're not pushing them. We're not pulling them. We're walking together. And that's the art of the long sale. And that's how you close $1 million deals.
Yeah. So how many years into Higgason Homes were you when you were presented with the, I'm not even sure how your ownership in Gracie Barra Renton began. Like, was there a pre-existing Gracie Barra that you bought into? Did you help start the first one? Like, how did that come about?
Here we go. So just a jiu-jitsu practitioner, competitor. I did a lot of competitions, building relationships, meeting people, talking to people, just being authentic and genuine. A lot of love. I started at an MMA school called a Ring Demon, Eric Dahlberg. And he was my original. Before that, I did judo. I was drawn more to the jiu-jitsu aspect. So I met Eric Dahlberg, and then he was my instructor for a few years. Then I moved to Sammamish, so I switched schools, and one of the schools that was close by was Gracie Barra Issaquah. Jason Adams was a blue belt, fairly decent blue belt at the time. I started going there, and then Gracie Barra became my people. This is my badge that I wear.
Yeah.
Jason and Rodrigo Lopez, who was the Northwest director of Seattle. And eventually I moved to Renton, so I started going to Seattle school. So I got my black belt from Rodrigo. And, over the years competing and meeting people and just getting my name out there, the Renton school started before COVID. Did COVID happen? And it's, the original head instructor, it just didn't take off. It didn't take off. It wasn't working. So Greg was asking some people. He asked Dex Montenegro, hey, I'm trying to find an instructor, a head instructor for the Renton school that I'm going to be opening. And Dex was like, oh, Shannon, Professor Shannon, you want him? My name popped up a couple times. And then Greg was like, oh, man, I thought about Shannon, but I wasn't sure he would be interested because he's running this construction company, he's a busy dude. And so when I heard that, I called Greg. He's like, Greg, hey, I heard you want me to be an instructor. I'm down, dude. Let's talk about it. So we did. Then we built the school. And instead of just paying me, he made me a partner. Because I paid in, I spent money to make the school possible as well. So we just partnered up. I was like, hey, you take care of this part of it. I'll take care of this part of it. And boom. So that's how the Gracie Barra School came about. I was asked to be the instructor, and then one of my bucket list items to have my own school. So I did it.
That's cool. Okay. So is your current relationship then you are a partner in the business?
Got
it. And you opted for that instead of being a paid instructor, like an employee.
Oh,
instructor?
yeah. No, yeah. I was like, hey, well, I'm interested, but I don't want to, I'm going to give you some money. We're going to do a percentage partnership. And he was like, I'm all for that. Wow. Greg's such a good dude. Yeah, he's such a good dude. Like, he's a down to earth, open-minded, hardworking, he's also a purple belt, and he's a fitness instructor. Have you heard of Greg?
No.
I'm going to connect you. You should do a podcast.
Yeah, let's connect me after this.
Bro, he's like 56 years old and he's ripped. He's a bodybuilder.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he's ripped. He's a 200 some pound beast of a man. He's a guy that would teach you how to get ripped. He's one of those guys, but also owns businesses, and he's a dad and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so, please. Yeah. Well, after this, connect and we'll figure that out. Yeah.
So there's that, man. And then, run the school, and it's a hobby. And might as well, teach. I've got a lot of students who are champions. We're out there at the Revolution tournament winning. I've got some bronze medalists, world champions, IBJJF Worlds. I've got some MMA fighters who have got some titles, and it's a good feeling.
When you bought into the partnership, were there any changes that you implemented? Were there any aspects of the business that you were like, hey, we could be doing this better?
I told him, let me take care of the website, all that stuff. We'll use my guy. And he was like, all right, done. And then I also told him, like, hey, I'm sure you already know this, but I'm going to do the build out. I'll manage it. Obviously, I do construction. So
perfect.
He's like, oh, thanks. And I got connections. It was like, if I'm going to run the school, I'm going to build it. I'm going to make it very nice looking inside. So he was all for it. He knew. I knew, we didn't really have to. My wife and I both, she's also a brown belt, and then she's a very educated individual, good with bookkeeping. She does the bookkeeping for all the businesses. And so he knew we were going to get in there and build that thing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, we were grateful for the opportunity.
You've seen behind the curtain on both P&Ls. What are the pros and cons of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu business versus the construction business? So what's better about the construction business, and what's better or worse about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu business?
Well, the construction company makes way more money, but that's different, right? The Jiu-Jitsu business isn't really about making a lot of money. For me, anyways. There's schools out there that do good, and there's schools out there that do enough for people to pay their bills. I will say it's nice that for the Jiu-Jitsu school, people sign up a membership. They go, oh, we want to do a 4-month term, monthly payments for this, credit card swipes, and then it just automatically comes out every month. I don't have to worry about sending invoices and chasing checks or anything like that. I love that. Reoccurring revenue is just make money while you're sleeping kind of thing.
And there really isn't much COGS unless you include salaries of I'm not sure if in a gym business.
As far as the expenses for the Jiu-Jitsu school, the rent, the electricity, advertising, paying the coaches and employees, it's a lot. Our expenses are about $30,000+ a month to keep the doors open. Yep, I don't have a problem with where we're at on those expenses because it's kind of required advertising costs this, and you got to have it, or else people don't come in. Social media is huge for jiu-jitsu advertising. You're running social media ads, you know, I'm not going to say any specific names. You probably already know. That's a way of advertising that gets in front of people that don't even know they want what you have until they see it. Then there's advertising where people go, oh, I'm going to look for jiu-jitsu. So they type in jiu-jitsu, and that's the internet. That's Google. That's the website. So you have an avenue in which people are looking for it, and you have an avenue in which you're getting in front of people who don't even realize they want it until you inspire them. Yeah. And then when you throw the word free in there, your free trial class, it's almost hard to not try it, you know?
Yeah. What's your upsell strategy when people come in for a free class? Or
we don't upsell anything. I love this. We don't upsell anything. I guess, you know, the way we look at it is this, like, hey, this is the monthly membership. We do have this special going on. If you do this, it varies from month to month. We're doing this special because people like to feel like they get a deal. So the upsell is we get them in and show them something that's real, and it was what it cost. And like, we're here. If you want to be one of our students, we'd love to have you. If not, we completely understand. However, take a look around. You know, people love the community, the camaraderie, you know, that feeling like they're a part of something, right? Motivation, it comes from two things: fear and desire. You got scared of something, so you're motivated to deal with it, or you want something, so you're motivated to pursue it, right? So pursuit of purpose, right? If you can take somebody and give them a purpose to pursue, they're way less likely to have depression. They feel like they have some value to add, right? Because we're human beings. We're engineered to live, to construct, to grow, 100%. Everything, right? So ultimately help. So when you take a person and you show them an opportunity to have a purpose to pursue, you're hitting a very hard nerve in a good way.
It's primal. It's ancient software way back there.
Even people that come in and you wouldn't think are very primal, you know, they're very frail, they're very insecure, but they're looking. Why? Let me tell you why they're looking. Because they don't have many friends. The community sucks. They're probably surrounded by a bunch of acrimonious people who bestow their opinion upon them, and they become a construct of other people's ideas of what they should be. That's dangerous. Sorry, I'm cussing. I don't know if you.
You're fine. You're fine. That's good.
That's dangerous. What we show people is like, hey, there is actually more to your life than being judged, criticized, belittled, and hated on. I get hate all the time. I love it. Actually, I had a hater today, but try to talk. I love it. And I comment back.
Who's hating on you, man?
Bro, anybody below you, man. People, other coaches see me and they're like, they want to be an online coach. They want to like try to make me look bad. I'm like, come on, make me look bad. Oh, you got a private profile. Figures. Of course you do, you know? Like people want to hate just because they can't, do what you're doing. Anyways, going back to what I was saying about give people a purpose and then show them that they're worth it, that they're valuable, that they're loved. You make them feel good, you're going to get a community. And most people just give up on themselves, man.
I've definitely seen that. I mean, to me, the most valuable aspect of training is training with a training partner in a group. I used to be
people need people. People need people. We feed off each other's energy, right? And when you get around people who have positive energy, I love that, right? I get that a lot. Like I have friends that hit me up like, man, I miss your energy. I'm like, I'm here, bro. I miss your energy. Come on.
You know where to find me.
Yeah. It's like I'm a battery, like I have my moments where I'm, a punk little then I go, shut the up, Shannon. That's the devil trying to grab you and bring you down. That's the haters. You letting it get to you. Like if you dwell on those people, if you listen to those people, if you take in their opinions, do you become like them? Yes. You want to be, shut the up, Shannon.
That's right.
Like, dude, I find it very, very disturbing that we live in a society where more than half the population wants to live their life hurting other people with words and accusation. Why did we get there? And how do we circumvent? Or, like, I don't know. I'll tell you how. Be the change you wish to see, right? Be the who. We need more people showing people how to be people. And most people are only working at a fraction of their potential. They're capable of so much more, but they don't even realize it because they're surrounded by people who tell them, no, don't do that. No, don't listen to them. Stay right here. We're in your comfort zone. This is our tribe. And deep down inside, they still feel like they're missing something. That's why they're depressed. And that's why they're out of shape. And that's why they're sick, and they're missing something. Like, wow. Tell you
Shannon, have you always had this mindset? I mean, and then this is the title of your podcast, right?
The who you know.
Yeah, the who you exactly. So where did this come from? When did this start formulating in your mind?
Oh, bro. 2010. the year I got married to my wife. Like we've been together 21 years, been married since 2010.
Mm.
Right before my wedding, I was in a heavy metal band. I was partying a lot. I was addicted to pills. Was taking Ativan, lorazepam, anti-anxiety medications that some guy just handed to me like it was no problem. And I was messed up, man. Mentally, I was messed up. I was sick. I was having sensations that were causing panic disorder, anxiety, full-blown panic attacks. I was sick. So I had to heal. I went to a therapist. I call him a mentor, a friend, you know, to this day, of course. And this was 14 years ago. So I was so terrified I wouldn't leave my house. I had agoraphobia and everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was sick, man. I was sick. So this was right before. So for about a year of cognitive behavior therapy, basically meeting with somebody once a week and learning from somebody who was, you know, very well versed in life and, you know, people. And he cracked me open, dude. He cured me. He gave me hope. He gave me a purpose. He showed me that I am far greater than what I perceive myself to be. And I used to think that if I stood up too fast, I was going to pass out because my heart was not working well. And then I was getting off the pills, and that took 6 months. 6 months of hard work and fighting addiction. Yeah. And I remember the day I took the very last part of this pill, the last time I ever took it. And then a few weeks went by, and we're 6 months into my therapy with Steve. And he said, Shannon, you did the hardest thing in the world. He said, most people don't make it, man. You did the hardest thing in the world. You're going to be great. He's like, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're one of my greatest accomplishments. And with your permission, I would love to share your story with my other clients. And I said, of course, absolutely. Yeah. Because I was rock bottom, trying to build a construction company, married to a woman who has been with me through the worst possible shit you can imagine. And in that moment was a catalyst. Like you asked, when did I decide? And it was in that moment that I kicked addiction. And I watched people die from it. And I was watching a jiu-jitsu video, judo jiu-jitsu. And I remember talking to Steve. This is after I was off the pills and I was doing a lot better. And I had learned how to deal with the panic attacks with cognitive behavior therapy. I've called 911 many times thinking of dying. I was watching a jiu-jitsu video and I was like, Steve, I was thinking about trying a martial art. And he was like, yes, absolutely, you should. And I was like, I'm afraid I'll never be able to do that. And he's like, whoa. And right there when he did that, I was like, oh shit, man, he's right. He got me. He was like, do I need to walk you through the door myself? I was like, no. So I went online and I found John Holm, USA Judo Club in downtown Renton. This man was in his 70s. He trained Ronda Rousey's mom. She was a 2-time world champion judoka. Wait, is Ronda Rousey from Seattle? Is she from Seattle? No, Minnesota is where her mom's from. Minnesota, okay. Yeah. That's where her mom went to school, University of Minnesota. I don't know where Ronda's from. I think Minnesota. I'm pretty sure Minnesota. Anyways, and he taught me judo. And then I met some people there. My buddy Eddie, who was also a judoka and a jiu-jitsu guy, and we were doing jiu-jitsu. And he was like, "Hey man, you should try this other jiu-jitsu school. You can do both." I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm down." And then I met Eric Dahlberg, and then I just started building the who. I destroyed my old self. I relinquished the vice that was preventing me and impeding me from being somebody undeniably exceptional. And then in my very first jiu-jitsu competition, I took gold. My second competition, I took gold. My third competition, I took gold. And then I got my blue belt. Eric Dahlberg said, "Shannon, you're beating everybody up. Here's your blue belt." And he doesn't give those out. He doesn't give those out easily. Yeah. My very first blue belt competition, I won. It was one of the hardest matches I ever had in my life. I beat up a pro MMA fighter. And I was only about a couple years into jiu-jitsu at a jiu-jitsu comp. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was handling me. He was out moving me, wrestling me, and I tapped him out the last 20 seconds. Woo. And then I just didn't stop. I decided I'm no longer going to listen to people who are losers. I'm no longer going to listen to people who are not doing what I want to do and have done at a large scale. I'm no longer going to take other people's opinions, okay? When I have done the hardest thing you could possibly imagine. Do hard. You do hard. And you do it with a smile, and you do it because it's good for you, you'll never lose. Amen, brother. I mean, that is insanely inspiring. Thank you. Out of curiosity, was there any correlation between you joining jiu-jitsu and seeing success there? Yes. And the business starting to climb? Yeah. I became the who. I refused to give up. Jiu-jitsu, you go to the class, you're doing technique, you're not very good at it at first. It takes time. If you keep doing the work, eventually you become more adept at it. Well, that correlation to business is very, very relative. You can't start a business and just go, okay, I'm going to sit idle right here and not get any better.
Yeah.
No, you will around. You cannot. You have to always be educating yourself. Focus on the things that are going to help you pursue your purpose. If I want to be a construction business owner, I'm not going to read books about baking. I'm not going to watch Real Housewives. Matter of fact, I'm not going to watch TV at all, very little. I'm going to focus on immersing myself in educating me to become the best at what it is I'm looking to do, and everything else can kiss my ass. So I started practicing leadership. So that's how I got better at sales. I started practicing, basically listening to people that helped expand my vocabulary. Like I listen to Jordan Peterson. I take his course. He has his online course. It's like people pay $100,000 to go to university to listen to these people talk, and some of them are, we all see that. There's a lot of bad people in the university teaching people that's unnecessary. So I find one of the best, and I go to Jordan Peterson's website, and for $500 for 1 year, I have access to all of his lectures and his courses. And every time I hear a word that I don't know, I pause it and I look it up and I learn the word. Like if I went to my phone right now and I went to my Safari, here's a word. I'm not really
archetype. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one.
That is one of Peterson's favorites.
Unscrupulous.
Unscrupulous. Mm-hmm.
Having or showing no moral principles. So how can you become a great communicator? Well, you learn how to communicate. And I'm not saying that you have to like take your vocabulary to like the maximum level and just out talk everyone to the point where they can't understand you. But the only way you find things that are going to be good for you is that you actually get started and you make mistakes and you evaluate the experience. That's learning, right? So, business starts with this. Become the who. Take care of yourself. Go to the gym. Make it non-negotiable. Put it in your calendar, just like you wake up every day.
Yeah.
You got to go to the gym. You got to eat real food. Like if someone came to me and said, hey, Shannon, man, I'm overweight. I want to get in shape. Where do I start? It's like, just go exercise. What about my diet? Your diet right now. Who cares? Go get started.
Yep.
Go get started with exercising. Go move your body. Start burning some calories, start building some muscle so that you can burn fat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get started there,
Once that becomes a habit, then we'll jump.
Dude, I can send people to a handful of legit fitness coaches that are not just guys that like come and train you and work you out. Like, no, they give you a program. They tell you what to eat. A lot of friends who do that. Like, dude, just go to the gym and get started. Watch what other people do, like move your body. Don't get underneath the bench press by yourself and try to do heavy weight. No. Start on the machine. Just use the machine, like just get started. You overthink it. People think they have to like understand something fully before they get, involved. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, bro, one of the greatest people of all time said, and this person, Colin Powell, this person is a very educated person. He was actually, I think he was like a Secretary of State or something or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, Colin Powell. He said, when I make my decisions, I get 70%. I spend enough time on them to get 70% of the decision. And then I go, okay, got to go. You're not going to win the chess game in your head before you start playing, right? You got to get started. So you show me a procrastinator. I show you someone who never gets started. I show somebody who's exactly where they are now than they were 5 years.
So much wisdom there, Shannon.
Yeah. And allodaxophobia, the fear of what other people think about you, is the reason why a lot of people don't get started or do things that are great, because they're so afraid of other people judging them. People are so worried about what other people think about them that they don't even do something that they're capable of doing because they don't want someone to think they might be different or bad for it. Imagine that. That's terrifying. I wish I could just like have a conversation with everybody out there who thinks other people are worried about what they do, when in all actuality, like people are going to get
that's really true. Yeah. So, that is one of the number one fears that people have. And I think it comes down, like evolutionarily, I think it comes down to people being worried of lowering their status in a social setting. So whether it's fear of embarrassment, fear of being the only one to think something, fear of being wrong, fear of being ridiculed or whatever. So that actually occurred to me in college. There was a time in college where I was kind of coming out of adolescence, and I remember walking into the cafeteria at school, and I looked around the cafeteria and I just realized everybody was on their phones. And I was like, wait, nobody's paying attention to me at all. And in that very moment, it was very freeing when I realized, wait a sec, I could trip and fall and no one's going to notice. Like I was leaving that kind of adolescent, the world revolves around me mentality where you think everybody notices all your mistakes, to realizing actually nobody gives a what you're doing. Like, just try and see what happens.
It's a liberating feeling.
Yeah.
You're basically constructing a prison with bars that aren't even real.
They're not even real. They're not even real. You think people are not paying as much attention to you as you think they are.
You know why I love being a coach?
Why?
I love being a coach because I love to see people win, live, be happy. I like to see people do good. And when I was, going through I went through, and I had a coach, therapist, basically saved my life. That right there was a wake up, not just a wake up call, but just like oh, dude, here's a good one. He said, Shannon, you know what the meaning of life? Like, I don't know. Everyone asked that question. What's the meaning of life? He was like, all right, ready for this? He was like, imagine you died and people at your funeral. He's like, how many people do you want there? And what do you want them to say about you? He's like, go do that. I was like, oh, that's so good.
I am.
Yeah, because when you die, all you are going to leave behind is a memory of other people, of you. You're gone. Leave a print that's positive and constructive, not negative and destructive. It's hard. It's hard, man. It's really hard. But the hardest part is when you don't even get started, when you listen to a bunch of other people try to tell you how to live your life. It's like the saying that goes, being poor is hard, being rich is hard. Choose your hard.
Choose your hard, man. Yeah.
Choose your hard.
Choose your hard.
I'm not saying everybody has to be rich, but rich is not just money. Rich is relationships. The most powerful thing in the world to an individual is the connections they have and access they have. Relationships. There's no greater feeling. There really isn't. People need people.
Yeah.
And people want to love, man. We're born to love. Like children, the hate that's instilled into them is generally by outside influences.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Yeah. What my kids, like I watch kids into jiu-jitsu class, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, my son, like it doesn't matter what color you are. Kids don't think about that, dude. They love right away. They love, they play, they want to learn. Like they're little sponges, right? Yeah. What's important is be very careful what you let them have access to. So by design, we want to love, we want to help. We're engineered to do so. We learn, we pass on our knowledge, innovation, and in every generation that goes by, we hope that it is progression for the right reasons still. And jiu-jitsu is where I think everybody should do it. It would save the world, man. Everyone should do it. You'd be humbled, you'd meet people, you would learn about you, right? And learning your strengths and then building off of those and recognizing weaknesses so that you can avoid, right? So, and I would tell anybody that if you don't do something kinesthetic, which is with your hands, moving, whatever, you're not doing what your body is actually engineered to do.
It's true. Yeah, it'll rot.
Fitness,
it'll slowly rot.
Fitness is important. Personal development, move your body, and don't stop.
If you were to sit down with an entrepreneur, this could be a fitness entrepreneur, it could be in construction. What are the top 10 guaranteed to fail anti-pieces of advice you would give them? So most people say, like, what are your top 10 tips to succeed? I want to hear your top 10. If you do these, you will certainly fail, because I'm pulling from the Munger framework of invert, right? So instead of thinking about how do I succeed, how do I guarantee I fail? And then just don't do those things.
Ooh, where do I even start? Well, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Don't listen to people who aren't doing what you're doing. First of all, okay, be careful where you get your information from. Second, work harder, and then eventually you'll work smarter. Stop trying to figure it all out before you do it. Just work. You're going to have to work hard at first. Third thing I would say is, so in other words, don't try not to work. Try to do the work, and then you'll figure out.
Then you'll figure it out as you go.
Really, yeah, to a point. Third thing I would say is don't do drugs, period. If you smoke a little weed, I mean, I know
rolling the dice. Rolling the dice.
Yeah. I know people out there that are very successful that do that, and I have no opposition towards it. However, when I did it, I went,
Same with alcohol. Nothing wrong with alcohol, but for some people, it's just can't handle it.
Yeah, some people cannot handle it. I drink sometimes. I would never tell anybody to drink.
Yeah.
The default setting, especially if you have a addictive personality, the default setting is don't drink.
Yes.
Okay. If you can handle having some drinks with some friends once in a while, cool. Don't drink and drive. Another thing I would say, man, this is a tough question, man. How to guarantee to fail? Oh, no is the most powerful word. Say no before you say yes. If you say yes to everything, you're basically giving up all your time and all your energy to people and to jobs and to situations that are going to bury you. The best deal you've ever made is the one you say no to. In other words, the best deal you've ever made is one that you said no to because it could have been life and death. So you got to learn when to say no.
Yeah.
Very important. You want to fail? Just do something that is, so for instance, let me give you an example. If you have a potential job and it's not something that you should be doing, right? Mm-hmm. And you take the job because you want to like tap into that, mm-hmm. then think things through, get involved with people who understand it and use it as an opportunity to learn, but make sure you don't price it in such a way that you lose. For instance, when I first started construction, I only did certain things. And then now I do full blown everything. I would go out and learn something on the side, right, to understand it better and then make some connections so that I could basically market that and give that opportunity to people, So it's one thing to say no more than yes, but it's another thing to some things you should say yes to. If you spend more money than you make,
guaranteed to fail.
Yep. If you make this much money, spend less than half of it. I love spending money. Don't get me wrong. I've got my Mercedes, my Navigator, and I've got nice, houses. And I made sure I made enough first. There's also a motive behind. I have some coaches that say, Shannon, well, not Shannon, but hey guys, you want that nice car? Can you afford it? Buy it. Then now work even harder to keep it.
I've heard that advice too.
Yeah. There's also that saying, or who said this? Steve Harvey said, fly first class, try it once. Then the next time you get on the plane and you walk past that first class, you go, oh, I want to sit there so bad. Well, what do? Go make more money so that, so you got to basically tease yourself, right?
Yeah. But it's very important that you pair that with the advice you just said, which is spend less than you earn. So it's like, try it. But then it's like, okay, if I want to buy, let's say this car is like $100,000, right? Or 200,000, whatever. If okay, I am not willing to spend more than 2% of my income on a car, then it's like, well, I better get my income up so that I can buy this without breaking my budget.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like you want to test waters before you swim. So here's an example. My wife's a bookkeeper. She's a money lady. She's scared to spend money unless, it's there.
Yes.
And then I'm like, hey, babe, come here. Come to the dealership. You got to see this car.
She's like, oh, no. Here we go.
Yeah. And I didn't tell her the price, but I told her what it was. It was nice. And she saw it. She test drove it. And then it's like, it's $140,000. I was like, we're buying it. She was like, no. Listen, here's the thing. I can figure out how to make the money. This car is a motivator because you like it. I love it, and I want you to be safe. I want you to be in one of the nicest cars, a Lincoln Navigator Black Label. Like it's a very nice ride. Yeah. So bought that. And that feeling to me was like, okay, why should I, as a man, I'm not criticizing anyone, let my wife settle because of my incompetence? So my punishment for even considering that is buy the expensive car, $1,600 a month payment, which isn't bad, $1,600 a month, and figure out how to make more money. This is a big must if you're going to build, scale, run a business. Do not lie ever, especially to yourself. You start lying, you lie to make up lies, you lie to lie. Authenticity, honesty, huge. Do not lie to yourself. That's a discipline. People will make up just to avoid, and that in itself is dangerous because then you're instilling a habit, a characteristic that reflects and emanates out, and then you die. Your business will fail. So that's a huge one, man. Do not lie. I hope people listen to that. This is a hard one. It's a gray area. Don't short yourself for your friends. So when your friends want to hire you and they want a deal, say, hey, you know what? I understand. However, I don't have much margins. I'm giving you my best deal already. And if I gave everyone a deal, I would never make any money. And I would end up being that basically the guy who just gives everybody deals and doesn't make any money. And then I won't have a business and I have a family. So you help them understand. And then they go, oh, I'm sorry. No, bro, paying full price. Some people, a good friend will never for a deal.
Right.
Hey, send me the bill. I have friends that do work for me. Like, for instance, my buddy James, he does car detailing. I say, hey, James, here's the truck. It needs an inside detail. I don't even ask him how much it is. I say, just send me the bill.
Yeah. And
I don't know if he's giving me a deal or not. And I told him, I was like, I don't want a deal. I want to pay for a good job.
Because you're a buddy and you're supporting him.
It's like, look. Yeah. So don't give your friends deals.
I agree with that.
You know who Andy Fusella is?
No.
Owner of First Form. Andy Fusella, he owns First Form in all the businesses. And he has a podcast and He's one of my favorite people in the world. He says, when I first started my supplement store, people would come in, friends of mine, and ask for a deal. And he would tell them, he's like, look, man, you watched me suffer for 10 years building this business. You watched me work 16-hour days. And I have competitors down the road, that I have to, I'm charging the same as them. I was like, and he would tell me, like, the fact that you're asking me for a discount hurts my feelings. Mm-hmm. He would tell them straight up. It got to that point. And then he'd check people. And even people who were strangers would come in like, oh, this shirt's the same price down the road. He said, or it was 5 cents less down the road. He's like, well, go get
it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go get it. Because here's the thing. I don't know if they're making money. I know my margins. I don't know theirs. So this is the price.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and then for the, like jiu-jitsu students, not my students, but people that will come in and try out. I've had some people try to like ask for discounts. Like, hey, do you have any special deals that I might be able to get?
Right.
I say, well, are you military, first responder, veteran, anything like that? No. Are you a college student? No. Like, okay, it's $200 a month. It's $150 for a gi and a $50 sign-up fee. And that's what everybody else pays, and it usually works, I mean, but I don't say it in a way that's like, how dare you? But I just tell them, yeah, we have deals for military, police, for first responders. If you have that, well, then I'm sorry. You pay the same as everyone else.
That makes sense. No, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, honestly, they're asking because they've learned, unfortunately, probably from other businesses that they've been patrons of, that price is negotiable in health and wellness. And it shouldn't be.
So many people think that they can negotiate, Yeah. Like, you may be able to negotiate a car sale or a house sale. It's different, like it's there. No one's buying it. It's different. But like, no, you go to the Apple iPhone store, this phone is the same price for everybody. Mm-hmm. They do not deviate. Another thing to say no to, you got to be very careful hiring family and friends to do business with. You got to be very careful. Like, I have a few friends, most of my friends that work for me, they may have been friends first, but this is the deal. This is the expectation. You're my friend. You don't get special treatment. My sister used to work for me for almost a year. She was an assistant. She did a lot, but it was just very clear up front and in writing, like, you don't get any special treatment. Okay. This is what you make. This is how much money you make. This is the duties. This is your job description. Sometimes it may grow and change. And if I say, hey, I need you to do this thing too, and you say, oh, that's not my job description. Well, that is going to be your resignation for termination. Mm-hmm. It's up to you. If you want to have an open mind and go, you know what, I would like to do that too. Thank you. I will do that. If not, I'll find someone who can. So you just have to be very clear up front and have it in writing. Like, for friends, we're business relation first. I have in-laws that work for my construction company, and it works out, but the expectation is there.
Yeah.
Right? Be very careful hiring family. Some people would probably tell you don't even do it at all. But I've heard other people who are very reputable say, hey, actually, it does work. Because Andy Frisella and his brother Saul, they built the business together. They're in business together. And they do fine.
So it can
work. Yeah. And that's a $100 million plus year business. It can work. You got to know who's on first, second, and third base, who's doing their part. What overlap that does happen, well, there's going to be a time and a place for that. And, especially as you're building and scaling, you're going to have to introduce other entities, and figure out, okay, how do we take care of this? Who's this? Who do we, relinquish this to? Who's going to oversee this process? And, just got to be real is real. Real is real. As far as what not to do, I think I covered quite a bit. I don't know if I hit 10, but man,
I think you're pretty damn close to 10. I mean, if that's not 10, that's good. I appreciate that so much, Shannon.
Don't get in street fights.
Don't get into street fights. That's a good one. Good rule to live by.
Yeah, as a professional grappler, there's nothing more dangerous than somebody who doesn't know how to control themselves and who could have a knife, or you can hit your head on the concrete and die, or worse, you knock them out and they die. I've been in a couple street fights and I feel like do everything you can to avoid street fights. So if that being said, avoid bars where that can happen. Go to nice establishments if you're going to go out and have some drinks with friends. I've been in clubs I shouldn't have been in. I've been in bars I shouldn't have been in. And man, avoid that.
You mentioned you like going out to nice restaurants. What are some of your favorite genres of cuisine / restaurants?
Steakhouses.
Steakhouse.
Luxury steakhouses. There's a place in downtown Bellevue called Ascend. It's on the 30th. Yes, it's like, I think it's on the 31st or 32nd floor in is it Lincoln Square?
Oh, wait a sec. I think I've eaten there. It's like a fusion,
sushi
like
bar, sushi and
yes.
The view is immaculate.
Yes,
they know me well there. They know me very well.
Very nice.
As a matter of fact, I might go eat there tonight. I can text the manager and get a table whenever I want.
High roller. Very nice. Nice to be Shannon. Shannon, are there any final shout outs, any charities you'd like to highlight or other business shout outs? I know your podcast.
We Defy is a charity. It's for veterans who are looking for camaraderie after they come out of combat, or just, they're military men and women who've done, years in the military, and they had basically a purpose, and then they get out of the military and then they're back into, like, they call it civilian life, and they're lost. Most of them are combat veterans. And so we have an organization that we sponsor and promote called We Defy.
We Defy.
Where We Defy, that we do seminars and raise money to pay for men and women who are veterans to have jiu-jitsu so that they can find camaraderie. It's missing. Some of them they don't have much money because, they get out of the military and they're figuring out, oh, what job should I get? And they're working, whatever. And so we try to get a year's sponsorship to get them started.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's about $1,500 to $1,700 that we try to raise per person.
What's the URL for that?
Oh, shoot. Here. Thank you. That's a great question.
Yeah, I want to link to it in the description.
URL or the Instagram?
Whichever one. Whichever is the best place for people to check it out.
Let's do the Instagram.
Instagram.
It's called, I'm going to spell it, WEDEFYFOUNDATION. Foundation. We Defy Foundation. And the slogan is "Prove Them Wrong." It's great, man. This is huge. One of my students, Jarrell, who is also a coach, he teaches a noon class, nicknamed Grizzly Bear. He's a big boy. He's one of the ambassadors, so he's well immersed in that. So that would be the one that I gravitate towards because it's jiu-jitsu.
Beautiful. Shannon, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Awesome.